really have a really wide palette of visual effects.
In the first two films, it was pretty basic. We had, lightsabers, a couple lasers in number one, and some real basic force lightning. And in number two, we really focused on the lasers mostly and just outdid ourselves completely. We had impact explosions and hundreds of lasers per shot, and I mean, it was really nutty. It's to the point where I don't really ever want to do a Star Wars laser ever again. And in number three, we really just pulled all the stops and just did anything we could think of. We attempted anything we could think of, to the point we actually reached our limits, I think. There were shots that we had to omit from the film because we couldn't actually do them. But I mean, it was anywhere from the lasers we saw in Movie Spoof 2 to way more lightsaber action to a Priori Incantatum parody from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. We took Force Lightning even further. Anything we could think of from the films that we love, we tried to do.
So there's a lot more visual effects than we've ever had in any of our other previous movies, but it's to a degree where it never really takes over the story at all, and that's why it's an important thing.
The big sequence that I think the big two sequences that a lot of people talk about with Movie Spoof 3 is Priori Incantatum sequence from Harry Potter, which was basically we have Mario doing Force Lightning on Ares, and then Zeus comes in, throws what I've always said was an Avada Kedavra curse. I don't think Joe ever acknowledged officially what he was doing, but he basically throws a curse at him, and we have him clash in the middle, and basically tried to emulate the Priori Incantatum sequence from the end of Goblet of Fire. So we actually were doing quite a bit more there, where we would have 3D particles interacting with the environment. We had a 3D floor so we could have something to interact with, and we had a lot of lighting effects going on in there. Luckily, it was shot in a way where nothing was really blown out, so we didn't have any white highlights, so I could darken the shot considerably, pretty much as much as I wanted, to make it look like the room was actually darkened, and all these effects that I was putting in were actually illuminating the scene, which was what really makes that scene probably the best looking scene in the film, and one of my most prized scenes. And the other big scene is the Ring of Fire, which it doesn't look as flashy as Priori Incantatum, but from a technical standpoint and from what people at TFN know, it was probably the biggest scene on the film. It was about a 2.5-minute sword fight where we had to insert fire behind Zeus and Mario, which required us to rotoscope frame by frame around the guys so we could insert things behind them, and we were calculating things like motion blur. So as the swords are blurring, we had to make sure our roto shape blurred equally, so it was semi-transparent and not just you wouldn't see grass behind it or anything like that. And that scene, I'm not really sure to this day how we ever got that done. I had originally, the whole idea behind it originally was there was this army of guys standing around watching this fight, but due to scheduling and the craziness of getting that many people together, there wasn't a way to get all those guys standing around watching this fight while they filmed the fight. So we thought, Joe came up with this idea, well, what if Mario kind of does this little spell that causes fire to go around him, and they're fighting inside of that would then hide the fact that we don't have extras out there. And I thought, this was about 1.5 years before release. We thought we were about 6 months from release at the time, so I'm like, whatever, get me the shots, I'll figure out how to do it. Because I had done, a little high-end rotoscoping with Movie Spoof 2, getting impacts and lasers behind guys and everything, but those were just a couple frames at a time. I mean, we're talking thousands of frames, every frame having to be rotoed. And it kept getting put off, it seemed like, and we never got the shots until the fall. This was in like October we were talking about this. We didn't get the shots until March, and we were going for like a May or June release. I was like, there's no way this can be done. So we pushed the release back yet again, and in April I start recruiting guys, and I got a team of guys together, 5 guys, and we figured out exactly how long we had to go, how long we had until release, how many frames we had, how many frames each person was responsible for, and we averaged out, how long it takes you to do any given frame, and we actually figured out how much time per day each person had to devote. And it was actually, we thought, oh, this is perfectly possible. But then as time went on, we started losing guys one at a time. And just one guy would drop out, next guy would drop out, have to redistribute all the shots. And it basically got down to me and one other guy, Camden Pike, who was a godsend for me. I mean, I emailed him the day that I lost the last guy and said, we're the last two on this project. I need you to stay in this with me. And he said, let's do it. So we were like, okay, we're gonna kick some ass on this sequence. So we basically divided the thing in half, and I think Camden had a few extra seconds worth of footage to roto, because on top of rotoing for me, I had to track everything and composite everything myself. And it was really nutty. I mean, most of that sequence was finished in the last month or so. I mean, we were pulling 36-hour days at a time, and it was, even the release day, I had been up for around 30 hours. I had actually been working all night the night before on the Ring of Fire, sent the shots off to Joe, I then walked out the door to drive to the premiere. So I have shots sending to Joe over AIM while I'm driving to Sioux Falls, just praying that my internet doesn't die or something. Luckily it did not.
Well, the previous films, it was a lot working with a really big group of guys and really trying to micromanage yourself to say, keep track of who has these shots, who has these shots, and who has these shots, and between 12 to 15 different people, which can become very tedious.
The big thing is I really took on a more official role as a visual effects supervisor. And number two, I was really just given that title because I was the guy who took on the most shots along with Wade Copson. And I really did nothing to warrant that title other than I did the most shots. I don't remember the total shots that I did myself, but it was about 125 shots across the whole film. And in number three, I took on an actual role of visual effects supervisor where Joe originally started giving me all the visual effects shots, and it was my job to go out and find artists to do these shots and let them know what Joe wanted, and I was really actually supervising what was going on the visual effects side. And I even set up a private forum on, it was originally just a forum for my friends and I created a movie spoof section where it was a secure, password protected area where all the visual effects artists could meet and discuss shots, and we could distribute shots. It didn't take off the way I'd like to, but it really helped quite a bit, and Joe really appreciated that and actually gave me the additional title of co-producer because I was doing so much to try to keep the film going and get everybody interacting a lot more than Movie Spoof 2.
He really kind of stepped up to the plate of being the visual effects supervisor in this. And he personally took upon himself to assemble a team of his own and organizing who got what and distributing all the shots to keeping track of who's doing what and when they need to get back to make sure that effects could meet their deadlines. And he's really been incredibly instrumental in getting this done. And it's really, the whole visual effects aspect really is his achievement in all this.